Hello once again, and I'm going to talk about my experience playing Deus Ex Machina, or how the hell you say it. Deus, I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it wasn't bad. You know, I've never played a game like this before, so I thought I'll give it a try, give it the benefit of that. Alright, I done it twice. I played the Commodore 64 version and the ZX Spectrum version. And no, I'm not going to play the MSX version. I think I've got an emulator somewhere, but I don't want to play on the MSX. I've never owned one, never played on one, never been interested in an MSX. What the hell are they anyway? I'm sure I remember back at school no one owned one. Well, I knew they existed because I used to see games in a little section on their own. I mean, the Amstrad was like that, the Commodore 64 was like that, the ZX Spectrum all had big sections everywhere, and the MSX had a little tiny little bit of shelf space with about 5 different games on it. Alright, I'm being a little bit harsh about MSX owners. I mean, probably must have been only about 5 in the old world that probably owned one. Anyway, I'm going off at a tangent. We're not here to talk about that. Yes, so what is my experience? It was alright. You know, let's just say it was an experience. It was a game, but it was an experience. That's what people say. Yeah, I thought it was an experience. I experienced it twice in one day. I don't think it'll be a game that I'll come back to. No, it won't be one of them games you can play again and play again and play again, because you basically know what's going on, and it does it. You only play that level part for a bit, and it changes. You know, it's got to change to keep up the story, to keep up the tape or the file that I was playing on. Well, in this case, how I did it was using emulators with an MP3 player to play the audio. That's the only way I could do it. I couldn't play it on my real Commodore 64 because I could not find a tape image, and I don't own a disk drive. And besides that, I wouldn't know how to take the disk image and put it onto floppy disk anyway, so I don't have the equipment to do that. The only way I could do it is via tape. So I couldn't find a tape image, I couldn't do it. As for the ZX Spectrum, I don't own a ZX Spectrum. I can find a tape image for it, but I don't own a ZX Spectrum. So this was the only way I can do it, via emulator. A little bit of a pain in the arse to start off with though, getting it all to work together, but eventually it worked. So it took me about 5 attempts to record the whole entire Commodore 64 version. I had to do it in 2 parts, of course, with the same with the Spectrum version. I had to do that in 2 parts, part 1 and part 2, and merge them together in the edits. But yeah, I would say if you haven't played it, I would recommend giving it a go. Yeah, I would definitely say give it a go. Yeah, but it was an experience. You know, it's a shame they don't make games like that these days. You know, you can imagine if they can make games like that. I mean, yeah, okay, all games these days have got a story. You know, you've got cutscenes and all that. Ignore that. Yeah, but this was something different. This is something I've not experienced before, and it was good to have the experience to play it. So I'm not going to criticise it like I did when I was playing it the first time, when I didn't have an audio tape. I didn't have no audio, so I didn't know what was going on. So now I've experienced it. Will I play it again? I don't know. I don't think so, because I've done it. I know, right, so I can improve on my score. Definitely can improve on my score. because the first time I played it on the Commodore 64 I only got 58%, so yes, I can improve my score. And when I played it on the ZX Spectrum I got 0. I felt the ZX Spectrum version was harder to play. It just seemed faster. Also, the first part, when the things start spinning around the DNA thing, on the Spectrum version, once it stops, you can't restart it. On the Commodore 64 version, once it stops, you can restart it. So obviously that's why my score on the Spectrum version was a lot lower, 0%. And I think another level, once it stops, you can't restart it. So there you go. So I thought, if you are going to play it, well, you can play it, choose whatever, anyone you want really. I suppose if you want more of a challenge, go for the Spectrum version. I mean, graphically they look pretty much the same, so graphically there's not much to choose from. Could be an emulation thing, an emulation problem with the Commodore 64 version, but I felt the Spectrum ran a little bit smoother, but I think that was down to an emulator problem, the Commodore 64. As I say, I was having all sorts of issues with both of emulators, especially with Vice 64. I couldn't record. I can't record with that one for some reason. It messes up. I would much prefer to use Vice 64. And with the other one, I have to mess around with the sound, because after a while, the CCS 64 makes a farting sound, and it sounds horrible. And it was messing up with the soundtrack. So when you're listening to the soundtrack, last thing you want to hear is bloody emulator making horrible noises. So yeah, there was a few problems there. Also had problems with the Spectrum one at first. When the game started to play, when you started moving the joystick, it crashed. So yeah, there was little bits of challenges getting it right, and eventually I got them recorded. So yeah, maybe bear that in mind if you're thinking about recording, but it might work first go with you. But yeah, definitely give it a go. Don't discard it or anything. If you're an old school gamer like me, yeah, you probably might want to try it. I mean, if you're a new generation of gamers, you probably look at it and think, what the fuck is that? Everyone's got their own opinion. But play it, then you can have your opinion. Don't look at it and not play it and say that's crap. How do you know it's crap? You ain't played it. So yeah, but I looked at it. Yeah, well, you're looking at it and playing it's two different things, isn't it? So yeah, if you're interested in looking at it, give it a go. So I can say, yeah, it was an experience, but I don't think I want to experience it again, because I've experienced it, and you know, it's gonna. The only reason I want to play it again is to improve my score. That'll be it. I think I've covered this video a bit now. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Till next time, and goodbye.